Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Breaking Through the Wall, a podcast presented by SERVPRO Team Wall. This is our fourth episode of the pod, and today we are joined by a guy who cannot stop creating new brands. He is in charge, he's CEO and founder of two ad agencies, that's RingoFire and CampFire. Also oversees Hardware Huddle, which is a leading platform in the hardware industry. If that wasn't enough for you, he's also an adjunct professor at Clemson University in their MBA department. Please welcome our next guest and my friend, Brian Stearns. Let's go.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me, Brandon. I appreciate it. It's been awesome following your journey as well. But just to have an opportunity on your platform to share a bit about what I've been up to is pretty cool. What you rattled off just there kind of makes me seem a bit insane. And I think that's the passion and the fuel that drives the entrepreneurial spirit for most people, is just not being able to sit still and always tinkering or thinking or doing something different than the day to day. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, and excited to chat with you today.
Absolutely. Well, I've been watching everything you've been doing. That's why we wanted to have you on. It's been awesome to see all the success you've had with all the kind of companies that you oversee. So if you will, before we jump into your journey and how you got there, for people that don't know you, just kind of talk about where you're based out of. And then if you could just talk about the three companies that you are the CEO of, and kind of if you could give like the short elevator pitch version, I guess, of what each of those companies do.
Yeah. So I'm in Greenville, South Carolina. My journey started in Atlanta, where I started right out of college working in the home improvement space. But fast forward to today, and I'll fill in the gap here shortly. We operate out of an old mill building here in Greenville. It was a big textile manufacturing location back in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. So there's all these abandoned buildings around the city. And the city, as you know, is just growing into this beautiful, magnificent place that people are leaning into and growing towards and building their startups. So it's been a great location to build these companies. All around, for me, the home improvement industry. As I mentioned, I started in power tools. I started in home improvement. So when I made the leap, I built a singular business, RingoFire, an ad agency that supports hardware and home improvement brands, construction, DIY, home improvement, outdoor grilling, those types of products and categories. My team helps drive, deliver, create, and inspire content for those brands and retailers. So day to day, we're running an agency of about 40 employees here who are buzzing around from job sites to Airbnbs to sets and studio production, building and creating content for home improvement brands. The second business concept that was sort of born during the pandemic is CampFire. CampFire is like RingoFire, but just for local. Supports coffee shops, breweries, schools, small merchants on Main Street, people who have an independent store, or like a doctor or an attorney here in Greenville or the upstate. So same type of a model of like a support agency, but just built for local. And then Hardware Huddle, kind of to round it out, what we're building there is sort of the Barstool Sports of home improvement. It's meant to be a one-stop shop for all things DIY, professional construction, hacks, tips and tricks around the house, but for the person who's just a home improvement enthusiast or a construction pro. So that sums up the three different businesses that we have operating here out of this one space, and how we're tied to sort of the home improvement and consumer goods industry.
That's awesome. So very much tied to the hardware industry. And I know since you just talked about it and you just kind of got out of it with
Yeah.
Hardware Huddle, you just had the big event, correct?
Yeah,
Last
we
Okay.
host the largest consumer event that brings in content creators. So the largest event for content creators in the home improvement space. We fly in plumbers, electricians, DIYers, roofers, superintendents, outdoor landscapers. We bring all these content creators and influencers here to Greenville every spring for a 2-day event. I call it the Coachella of home improvement. It's a party. I mean, we've got everything from fire dancers and food trucks and live music, but also tool demos and product demonstrations. So it's a great way for a brand to introduce a new product in a fun, relaxed atmosphere to the pro content creator or influencer that matters. There's no other show like it. It's almost becoming a festival. We just hosted the 5th one a couple weeks ago, and we're already planning 2026.
That's awesome. That's incredible because there's nothing like that out there, right?
No, and it cuts the noise out of a traditional trade show. You think of something like, the International Builders Show or CES, thousands and thousands of people. Those are great shows, but there's so many people there. It's so noisy. There's no depth. You can't get intimate or have one-on-one time with the people or the pros or the content creators that matter. So Hardware Huddle cuts all that noise out and puts the brand leaders right in front of the product users, who are now the brand heroes of any consumer good line today. Brands used to have a spokesperson. That spokesperson kind of became like a mascot or a model. Then we rolled into bloggers, and then we met influencers, and today they're content creators, and I call them micro pros. These are the folks who have built their business on social media, who utilize these tools day to day, who want to connect with brands. So Hardware Huddle does that. It fosters a community where brands can connect with the end users in a cool, social, digital forward way.
That's awesome. It's like bringing the new school era of marketing, but with the classic old school style of hardware.
Yeah,
So
and making it fun, having live music and cold beer and in a food truck and all kinds of acrobatics and putt and fire and all these elements. I mean, this year was a Jurassic Park theme. We actually had a T-Rex, an animatronic T-Rex walking around during the show taking photos with people. So it's just meant to be wild and meant to keep people's phones out the whole time, just introducing them to these demonstrable demos and just keeping it super experiential. So yeah, that's Hardware Huddle in a nutshell. And that just started 5 years ago as a simple little party or a way to get together with the fun people we like in home improvement, that has turned into this incredible festival that we get to host every spring here in Greenville, South Carolina.
That's awesome. That's really amazing to see kind of it develop and see where you're at just 5 years, 5 short years later.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I love hearing how passionate you are about all the different things that you're working on. So let's kind of roll it back to kind of the beginning. So I guess we'll go back to like you in college, right? So
Yeah.
you didn't go to Clemson, right? Did you go to App State?
No, I went to App State. Yeah, I was there when App State beat Michigan, if you remember that. It was a very long
I absolutely remember that game. In fact, I was watching that game because it was I believe it was a 12 o'clock game, right?
I get chills when I just mention that, because I was in Ann Arbor. I was one of like 200 Appalachian State students that actually
You were at the game?
drove up just to watch our team play at the Big House. Had no thought that we would even remotely come close to winning.
Mm-hmm.
So just being there was insanity. That made my next 2 years of college insanity, because that put Boone on the map, App State on the map. It was a great time. I was a DJ, like a pure party DJ. I was playing 3 or 4 nights a week at different bars and fraternity parties and sorority parties. I thought I was going to go into music. When I graduated, I had a contract gig offered to me from Carnival Cruise to go out on a cruise ship for 6 months to do, to play music. And essentially my parents sat me down that same day and said, listen, we didn't just pay for 5 years of college for you to be a Carnival Cruise party DJ. Your cousin works for TTI. She's in charge of the floor care division. You're going to Atlanta tomorrow to meet with her director to have an interview. And so I really had no choice. I had to hop in the car and drive down to Atlanta and interview for Tektronic Industries, which owns the Rigid, Ryobi, Milwaukee, Hoover, and Dirt Devil brands. So I was so upset the whole drive down. I just remember thinking this is ridiculous. I didn't want to go corporate. I have this cool gig with Carnival. Why are my parents doing this to me? But all in the same time, sort of understanding a bit the emotions I needed to go through. Anyway, interview actually went really well. They had immediately offered me a gig in Atlanta, a gas card, a truck, a phone, all these cool, package and benefits. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is kind of mature, and maybe it is time to roll into something more corporate, and I can continue to DJ, which I did, some weddings and gigs and things in the Atlanta area on nights and weekends. But anyway, so that rolled me into the home improvement space. Really wasn't planning to ever go there. And, fast forward 18 years, I'm obsessed with hardware and home improvement. So started in Atlanta, worked in the Home Depot stores, was promoted up to the Ryobi corporate office in Anderson, South Carolina, which is just 15 minutes south of where I'm at today in Greenville. Was the director of marketing for Ryobi, spent several years there building programs and onboarding the Ryobi team to social media. So I was the first person to start the Ryobi Instagram account, Facebook account, Twitter at that time before it was X, and other things. And that got me obsessed with social and digital and marketing and helping brands in the home improvement space step into those social platforms. So that inspired me to go back to school. I was really feeling the corporate path. I thought it would get me a promotion. But while I was in school, I had an aha moment of, I could start my own company. I could do this for other brands. And that's what I did. I quite frankly started RingoFire in the classroom as a class assignment where we had to just pitch a concept of a business. And I took it from paper to real life. And over the course of those next 2 years while I was in grad school, launched the company. And ultimately, right at graduation was around the same time where I did resignation and started RingoFire full time. And it's been an astronaut ride ever since.
Wow. So literally started because of a class assignment.
Yeah, literally
Yeah.
started because we part of the program had us come up with a concept, whether it was real or not, just to sort of go through the motions of building a business plan and all those steps you needed to start a company. So yeah, it was an assignment. I was in a classroom with about 30 different students, and I think I was one of two or three who actually went on to build and launch their idea.
Thanks so much for watching Breaking Through the Wall, a podcast sponsored by SERVPRO Team Wall. Of course, SERVPRO Team Wall is available to help 24/7 with all of your restoration needs. So whether it be water, fire, mold, cleaning, or full construction services, SERVPRO Team Wall is there to help you. So give us a call if you need us. But for now, let's get back to the podcast. That's awesome. So when you first start RingoFire, this is what, like 2016, right? Is that
Yeah,
right?
2016 into 2017.
Okay. So as that starts, do you have an idea of who you're looking at for clients? Obviously, you wanted to stay in the hardware industry, I'm assuming. And at that point, is it just you, or is there other people involved at that point at the
Yeah,
start?
I mean, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was building the plane in the air. I was trying to do the whole like fake it till you make it, walking
Yeah.
like ethical line. I mean, I launched a website and put my friends' logos on it who worked at other like retailers and companies just to say that they could vouch for me that I had a conversation with them or knew them or did some work for them. I rented a shitty little apartment on Main Street that had that was above a subway just to have a Main Street mailing address for the business. So I did all these things to sort of line Ringo up to look good. And I utilized all the resources from the school program because I was still in class, as far as like access to the printer and having like paper and office supplies and meeting rooms and being able to host like video calls where it looked like I was in an office. So I just tapped into every resource I had to sort of like build this thing out of nothing to then convince the first client that we were a legit agency. And that first client became the first investment. You know, I didn't take on any kind of a loan, didn't really, like rake up a lot of credit card debt or anything. I was hoping to catch that first big fish and then utilize those funds to buy a camera, buy a laptop, pay an intern, and to start to build a business. And that's exactly, what I did over the next couple of years. But it really was bootstrapped from the classroom to the first client to building and bringing on the first team member and just sort of going from there. But we were taking on any and everything. I mean, I was doing all types of gigs. The first couple clients weren't actually even in home improvement. They were just all across the board because I was saying yes to whatever sort of came through the door just to build up some revenue and just to build up some reputation.
Sure. No, I love that. At that point, I'm sure you're willing to take on anything because you're trying to build the brand out. And I did want to ask, so as far as like a mindset goes, you're in a pretty good position, running, it sounds like director of marketing with Ryobi and
Yeah.
under the TTI kind of the blanket of things. What's your mindset at that point to leave at the time a really good job to just go out on your own to start something that you really is just here? You probably saw the vision.
It was
Yeah.
the thrill and the scare and the nerves and everything all at once. Kind of like riding that new roller coaster for the first time, where you're just like shaky and nervous and uncertain, but the minute it starts to go downhill, you can't stop and it's just an absolute thrill. And I experienced that when I truly like made the leap and walked out of corporate and turned in my badge and walked down those stairs for the last time. That was a very vivid moment for me, looking back up at the sign, thinking, I'm never walking in this building again. I had a great experience there, but I had felt the courage and empowerment that I'm truly going out on my own. And that is a level of just, that's a mindset that I can't even begin to describe, that I think most entrepreneurs feel. And when you feel that, it's time to freaking run. And so I just started running. I didn't really know where I was going. I knew that if all else failed, I could figure something out. I just finished grad school. I felt like I had some backup plans, but it just gave me the courage to really run and fly, knowing I was truly out on my own. And there was just this like whole chapter of excitement and nerves and fear and all the things that come with it that kind of fueled what I was doing because I had no prior experience of running an ad agency. I didn't grow up thinking I'm going to own an ad agency one day. It just sort of happened in the moment because I had to put something on paper in class to come up with a project. And years later, I've built two of them and have started a third. So it's just wild how in a split moment you can alter the direction of your entire life. So I grew up also saying I'm never going to sit in a cubicle and just have a corporate job, and then I ended up doing that for 10 years. So that was part of the inspiration of like the Ryobi gig was great. I learned a ton. I figured out home improvement. I figured out the hardware space. I got to study the Home Depot, but it really wasn't what I loved to do, which was building teams, hosting events, creating work for clients, doing campaigns, working in social media. This gave me that path to just blaze and roll. And that's what we did. And every year we continued to just one up ourselves and bring on more clients and add more headcount, and just got into a rhythm of absolute domination for what we're doing in the home improvement space.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that you brought up the fear part and,
Yeah.
and being scared to maybe take that leap. And I think so many people that probably could do incredible things or do things that they're not sure they could do. If you just take the leap and just willing to risk something, I think, you have to be uncomfortable to maybe get to where you want to be comfortable. And I think so many people just need to do that.
Yeah, nerves are good. Nerves are your body's way of saying we're going into superhuman mode. So like you're either gonna, totally nail this or totally screw this up. But if you lean towards the nailing it part, all systems check in, and I think it just really helps you, build or dream or do whatever it is that you're passionate about. Those butterflies that you get before a speech or before singing a national anthem or before somebody gets before performing on stage, it's the same type of feeling as you're launching your own business. Those nerves, that energy, it's really not nerves, I call it energy, that drives you to be superhuman. And if you don't feel that, I think something's wrong. So for people who confidently say that they don't feel those emotions or that energy before a speech or before they launch something, that's where I would kind of throw up the caution flag and ask, is this really for you? Because you've got to find something that scares you, because when it scares you, it inspires you to just relentlessly go after it.
Definitely. And there's nothing like that adrenaline or that natural high of after you do something that probably scared the hell out of you.
Yeah.
Once you do it and you crush it, there's no feeling like that. And I've tried to explain that to so many people, I think with music, and like you just brought up the national anthem, and it's like the ultimate fake it till you make it. I think we were coming off tour and I told my manager I wanted to sing the national anthem, at a wherever. We were just trying to do it. I was like, every PR move is a good PR move.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do the Baltimore Orioles because I grew up in Maryland. And I was
Yeah.
like, just tell them I've sang the national anthem at a bunch of places.
Yeah.
And I hadn't. And I got it. And it's like, coming off of playing smaller shows and being on tour. And then you show up and you're like, all right, there's going to be, a couple,
Yeah.
15 people, and you're going to sing the national anthem and figure it out. But it's like, yeah, I was scared. But after I did it, I felt on top of the world. You
Yeah.
just got to crush this stuff.
Yeah, that confidence is key, and you've got to have it. And I didn't really have it until I needed to have it. And so again, it was just being willing to throw myself into an uncomfortable lane and just go really fast is what has got me here today. Otherwise, I would have probably comfortably and casually just sat at that desk for another 10 years. And again, there's nothing wrong with people who go that path. That's a great career path for anybody who can spend 15, 20, 30 years in a certain industry at a corporate job or a desk job. But had I not just said, screw it, I'm jumping, I'm hopping on the roller coaster, I probably would still be there and would have built a cool career. And I did leave a lot behind, but and I'm thankful for what I experienced. But again, it's a whole nother level when it's your own thing versus working for somebody else. And I've just learned so much along the way. And I'm so thankful that 29-year-old Brian made that decision, because if I hadn't, I would be almost 40-year-old Brian, still probably sitting in like a Monday morning corporate meeting, drinking a stale cup of coffee, working on a PowerPoint slide.
Yes. Yep. Well, let's talk about some of the we're talking about all the great things, but let's talk about, you run these companies. There's all these different things that are probably happening all at once. What are some of the challenges that you kind of face as far as running all three of the companies, and spreading your time, I guess, evenly, or is there people that you've now trusted to kind of run those organizations, or are you still very much hands on with that?
Yeah, I think I'm still very much hands on, but again, building the plane as we go. I compare it to like having kids for the first time, and I don't have any kids, but I imagine as a parent, there's moments where your child's just sitting there playing, and then the next minute they're puking, and you don't know what the hell to do. And that's the same starting a business as an ad agency. There were moments where we're popping champagne, like celebrating because we got paid or just nailed an account, and the next moment we're getting punched in the gut because we missed a deadline, or there was a grammatical error on a print piece or something crazy. So it's always like a yin and yang and a balance of up and down. Even 30,000 feet back, bigger challenges too, of just like growth and payroll and legal and HR and all those things you don't even think about those first like 2 or 3 years, that'll bite you in the butt later if you didn't implement them early on. So that was a learning lesson. I learned a ton from Ringo. If Ringo's my first kid, I learned a ton from that to then be able to really curate and launch strategically these other two and three the proper way from the mistakes. But if I hadn't have made those mistakes, it wouldn't have sort of shaped and altered where we are today either. So again, I really think everything happens for a reason. There's so many ups and downs. There's nights where your palms are sweaty because you're not sure you're going to make payroll because the client's invoice didn't come through. And then there's afternoons where you're taking the whole team downtown for a rooftop celebration, popping champagne because we just landed, a massive deal with a number 7 retailer in the world. So, it's that excitement and those crashes and those ups and downs really do kind of mold and refine what your business is. Statistically, as an entrepreneur, you're supposed to fail. You're not supposed to make it. You're supposed to crash and burn after like 2 years. And then the 30% of companies who do make it after 2 years, only 15% make it to the 5th year. So it's a grind. I mean, you're salmon swimming upstream. You're an athlete trying to compete in a really brutal race. But you've got to just be willing to continue to go. You stop, you take breaks, you check yourself mentally when you need to. But we've learned that it's just, you never let your foot off the gas. I had a mentor tell me when I started this thing, when it's hot, it's hot. You keep your foot on that pedal because there are going to be times when it plateaus and dips. And those are the times where, when you've doubled down, it'll help sustain.
That's a very incredible. It's cool to hear from the mentor side of things as well. And I'm one of those people that I feel like when I'm locked in, I'm getting stuff done, very energetic, I'm going. And I feel like you probably have all these different things. You're juggling different companies, juggling different deadlines, juggling the plans for maybe the next 3 to 5 years. Do you have any tips or tricks or things that you utilize to make sure that you're locked in when you're working on a certain project?
Yeah, I do feel like the creative chaos daily where my mind is scattered, like tick, 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 tick throughout every single day, switching between entities, jumping between meetings. Again, I'm sort of fueled by that in a crazy way. That energy keeps me rolling. So much so that like after 9 or 10 days of it, I do like totally check out and just lock myself in my apartment and watch Netflix and Uber Eats and turn my phone off for a day or two just to recharge. But I do utilize like tons of programs and platforms between the entities, even as simple as just like Google Meets and utilizing Slack and a program called Monday.com. That all those things have helped us get organized and establish processes. We didn't have that at the beginning. We were running things off of legal pads and Post-it notes and just trying to do our best with money in a shoebox. I mean, we figured it all out as we went, but those early days were tough learning lessons. And again, I credit those learning lessons to being able to set up now 2 or 3 other successful businesses because we kind of figured it out the hard way and we figured it out our way. I was never a big believer in saying like, you read this book on how to build a business. Like this is going to teach you step 1, do this, step 2, do that. I didn't want to follow someone else's plan. That stressed me out. I just wanted to go my own pace with what I felt comfortable with and what I knew. And I didn't claim to know everything. I was the crazy creative. I was Robin Williams. I needed to hire the Michael Jordan of accounting. I needed to go recruit the Serena Williams of graphic design. I knew I needed to go find these good people to really build an epic team. So that was fun for me because I recognized very early on, I'm not the finance guy. I'm not the business ops guy. I'm not the legal guy. So I doubted myself for years for even doing this, because I didn't think I had those things in me that you needed to have in you to be an entrepreneur, because you're told your whole life, and a good entrepreneur is a great CFO. I'm sort of the anti CFO or anti CEO in that sense, where I know the lane that I'm great in, that I stay in, but I empower the great team leaders around me to do those other things that they just excel in.
That's great. As a sports guy, I can appreciate that. Everyone has their role,
Yeah.
and it's like you were assembling your dream team, if you will, and getting the right people in the right places to make the team be successful. And I think that's a credit to probably how successful you guys have been, is not trying to do everything probably by yourself or putting
Yeah.
yourself in a position to potentially fail.
I love to be very involved, but I recognized I can't do everything. So while I enjoy being part of meetings and sitting in on calls and being around the team, I also recognize, like, these folks do what they do because they're good at it. They have a talent, they have a desire, they've studied, they've got certified with Google SEO or AdWords or whatever. Let them do what they do well, and just be there to support them, empower them, encourage them, and teach and train and inspire as they need it. But yeah, the team building part has been the most fun. I think that's why I've almost become one of these like serial entrepreneurs. It's not really for the money or for the success of the business, although that's important. For me, it's like building great teams and being an awesome host to those teams, and being an awesome host to our clients. So that keeps us very relationship driven, which is unique to our structure and setup also.
Thanks so much for watching Breaking Through the Wall, a podcast sponsored by SERVPRO Team Wall. Of course, SERVPRO Team Wall is available to help 24/7 with all of your restoration needs. So whether it be water, fire, mold, cleaning, or full construction services, SERVPRO Team Wall is there to help you. So give us a call if you need us. But for now, let's get back to the podcast. Absolutely. So how do you measure success as it stands? Is it really just, you just talked out it's not always money. So maybe it's
Yeah.
not just, revenue and build revenue and collect revenue, but is it headcount at those businesses? Is it just the
Yeah.
success of maybe events, or is it just a myriad of things that you kind of lay out?
Yeah, aside from the books and the finances, for me, it's retention, and it's little turnover. So retention in clients, retention in team members. Most big brands will trade ad agencies every year or 2 years. We have Fortune 100 brands that we've worked with now for 5 and 6 years. 2/3 of my team have been with me for over 2 years. I think so. Those things are really important to me, and that's a real true measurement of success. When a team sticks with you, when a client sticks with you, and it's all because of the relationships we've built. I tell my crew almost daily, a client will fire you, a friend will forgive you. And so we go into any new opportunity with that friendship mindset of, let's win them over, let's wine and dine them, let's entertain them, let's be a great host, and let's be authentic about it. This isn't some fake timeshare, sort of scheme. This is us truly wanting to connect with people, be an extension of their team, and see them succeed. When I was a DJ, I would look out into the audience, and if you were smiling, I knew I was doing my job. That made me happy. As an agency owner, if I look out into the meeting room or creative room, or if I'm talking to a client on Zoom and they're smiling, then I know we're doing our job. It's really simple. It sounds cliche, but it's just client happiness is the major success metric for us.
Retention. I love that.
Yeah,
That's great. I mean, it's probably the most important piece. It's
it is.
keeping your people that are doing the work for these, and then keeping your clients and making sure it's not something that's just a revolving door of, hey, we did this with this person, but they're no longer with us. Now you have these great testimonials of places that have been with you for, 4,
Yeah.
5, 6 years.
Yeah, that's super helpful.
Absolutely. So I know you just talked about kind of being this serial entrepreneur. What's next, or what do you see, for you over the next, maybe 5 years per se? Do you think there will be more than 3 companies that you have founded at that point?
Yeah, I think selfishly, I do want to like curve back into the entertainment space, and whether that's opening like an event venue or something to that, like here in Greenville, where we can host events, parties, weddings, gatherings, fundraisers, and have a good time. Because like I said, I love to be the host. I like setting the stage and showing people a good time. I really enjoy that. There's opportunity for that here in Greenville. We just acquired a modeling agency called Millie Lewis, which is the largest model talent agency in the Southeast. So still getting our hands around that, but have a lot of opportunity there. working with college athletes, influencers, and just models in general, spokespeople, TV personalities, all those types of things. So there's opportunity there. And then always some other concepts that we're brewing up. CampFire and Hardware Huddle to me are still in their startup stage. There's a lot of room to grow. We're just getting started. So my focus is going to continue to be on those two. But I'm always thinking of ways to expand on what we've built and how to create this ecosystem where Ringo can support Hardware Huddle supports, something we're doing with product development supporting the home improvement industry, and then also very much tied back to giving back and the charitable angle and the things that I'm doing with City of Hope for cancer and diabetes research, which is tied to hardware home improvement as well. Lowe's and Home Depot are huge supporters of City of Hope. I get the honor of sitting on that council and that committee that helps drive awareness and dollars and fundraising for the community that needs it. And so all these things click together. It's like a bunch of Legos that build a really cool piece of art that I appreciate. At least it might not make sense to others, but that's been the fun part. And that's where you ask, what's next? What will I build next? I think it's going to continue to be things that plug into what we've already done so we can leverage and learn from the past.
Awesome to hear. I love the way that you're explaining that. It's fascinating to see how your brain works, and I can see why all these things have been happening. And it's so cool to see it go from brain to paper, from paper to actually happening in front of us. So that's awesome to hear. Really appreciate you sharing kind of all this and giving us your background and talking about the companies that you've built. I do want to, before we let you get out of here, we're going to do some favorites. So I won't make you think too hard. These are just right off the top of your mind here. So we're just going to hit you with it. So these are Brian Stearns' favorites. So we'll go. Favorite concert that you've been to? We've talked a lot about music.
Favorite concert that I've been to. I'm going to just name two because I can't name one. I saw the Killers at Red Rocks, which was phenomenal about 10 years ago. And also maybe shortly after that, the Foo Fighters at a Rock the Vote concert in Charlotte at a very small, like 500 person venue. It was front row right in front of Dave Grohl for about 3 hours. He was, flinging sweat from his headband right down onto. I mean, that was like religious. So I would say the Killers and Foo Fighters are up there with the best two shows I've seen. Both tied to like the experience that come with them of the location and venues that they were at.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm a huge Killers fan, by the way. So I absolutely love that. I've never been to Red Rocks. I recorded an album in Colorado Springs, which is not super far, and spent a lot of time in Denver as well. And I've driven by it and did a photo shoot like 5 minutes from it, but didn't have time to go to it. So that's on my bucket list.
It's a great venue. Yeah, you've got to check a show out there.
Absolutely. So we'll keep it moving. Favorite restaurant?
Favorite restaurant? I love a good steak. So I would say Hall's Chop House right here in Greenville, South Carolina. We do love to entertain and host, like I mentioned, and we're taking clients there every other week. So it's a staple and a favorite of mine.
Perfect. I love giving love to Greenville. Favorite vacation spot that you've been to?
Favorite vacation spot? Oh man, when I can check out and get away, I love to sort of like venture into the mountains. So I'm going to say that it's a tie or a layup between like Boone or Asheville, North Carolina. Just like a fun but quiet mountain town, getting a cabin, hanging out with some friends, doing the campfire, hitting the river, seeing the falls. That to me is a true escape. So it's again, I keep giving you two because how scattered my ADHD brain is. I can't just give you one answer.
There's no rules here, so you're good. And you're opening eyes maybe to people that are unaware of Western North Carolina, rural North Carolina, especially in the fall, guys. Boone, North Carolina is a real treat, by the way.
Yeah,
fall
for sure.
So keep it going. You talked about sometimes when you shut down after you're working 8, 9, 10 days in a row. Talked about Netflix. Favorite binge-worthy show?
Oh man, Succession really got me. That one was pretty incredible. And then I'm a sucker for White Lotus, so it's like the corporate strategy show and then kind of the sleazy, cheesy murder mystery show, the best of both worlds there. So I like those were a balance for me the past couple of years as far as times I needed to just like check out. Because if I'm not like watching a show or listening to a podcast, my mind is racing. And I think there's other people out there like that can relate, that it's hard to turn it off when you care so much and have so much going on, unless you do that one thing. For some people, it's running. For other people, it's listening to music. For me, it's like just tuning into like a show. And then I know I'm not going to be on my phone. I'm not going to be on the computer. My mind's not going to be racing about what meetings I have the next day. I can kind of like connect to the show, the podcast, the thing. And it helps. It does help recharge. And a lot of people don't do that and they burn out because they feel this, intimidation or expectation that they've got to go, 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 go. It's cool and it's okay to have a couch potato day as an entrepreneur. I really like advocate for that because I've seen others just totally burn out. And you can ruin yourself early on if you don't, take some time for mental clarity and rest, even while going 100 miles per hour each day.
Absolutely. Find that peace, that solace in some TV, as you say. So I do enjoy that myself. Before I let you get out of here, we've talked a ton about being an entrepreneur, finding success in it. If you could give one piece of advice to anyone that's maybe thinking about starting something up on their own and being an entrepreneur, what would that piece of advice be?
Yeah, it would be do it your way. Don't be afraid to ask for advice or have some input from others, but don't feel pressured to do it the way others tell you. Because it's going to be your thing and it's always going to be your thing. So I encourage people just to take the speed and the path that feels natural to them, be open to input from others, want to learn from others, but don't be persuaded too much by others because then they're controlling kind of the concept or the thought or the idea or the plan or the strategy that initially was yours and it could get skewed. So yeah, simple advice, do it your way. Be open to feedback and learnings and education, but just go at what feels right for you.
Incredible advice. I greatly appreciate it. We really appreciate you coming on, breaking through the wall. It's been awesome to talk with you and hear your story. Really excited to see what you do here in the immediate future and in the next 5 to 10 years, and just see all the incredible work you've done. So we really, really appreciate it. So
well, thanks for having me, Brandon. It's been great to be just a friend of yours, connected with you, following you as well. So I look forward to our next catch up and can't thank you enough for having me today. So appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.